wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy.
Hello and welcome back to a brand new season 2 of Tactical Awareness. We are back with a whole new edition of Infinity the Game, Corvus Belli's landmark science fiction tabletop wargame. My name is Ash and I'm joined by my friends Owen and Dan to break down this new edition launch, which came out on Monday, and talk about our top 5 biggest takeaways that we think are going to affect the game, the gameplay, and the general sort of Infinity landscape going forward. So let's dive in, see how the boys are doing, and get going. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
We're back.
We're back. Hello, all you Infinity perverts who've been desperately waiting for this and asking for this to come back. It's the Canadian Infinity podcast that nobody asked for. Risen from the dead for your guys' consumption in a shorter format with more to talk about. And we're here because it finally happened after much delay. Infinity N5 got released on Monday this week, and we're going to give you 3 little short episodes this week, breaking down the big strokes. You guys had a chance to play games yesterday, didn't you? Oh, sorry, for those who've never heard this before, we should introduce ourselves. My name is Ash Barker. I am a Canadian Infinity gamer, warcore, and general tabletop guy. My friends Dan and Owen are joining me from Calgary. I'm in South Central Ontario, so we're about, what is it, like 3,500 kilometers apart? Like 1,700 miles ish.
2-hour time zones. It's not even that long.
Yeah, it's not that long. Not that long. Just
two time zones.
Just some prairies in the distance in between us. And we have a podcast called Tactical Awareness. We launched it in N4. Now it's N5. We've been on hiatus for a few months because, well, there wasn't really a game to play.
And then as soon as they announced, it was like, well, back to sleep until the new one comes.
That was it. Well, and we didn't even get a new ITS in September. We just got, here's the old ITS with some stuff taken out. So like we didn't have scenarios to play.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's been a bit of like a hibernation for all of us, and we've been off doing other things. I've been getting myself jerked off by Kill Team and Spearhead. You guys have been deep in the old world, 3D printing armies and you know, playing the square based games. But we're back for this insanity. And the plan is we're gonna do some shorter episodes, breaking things in pieces, but we thought we would lead off with a top 5 list. It's the end of the year, top 5 lists are popular. And each of us do our little top 5 things we've noticed so far. I'm 3 games in, you guys are like 1, 2, 3 games in each. But things we've noticed overall that are what we think is the most significant changes so far to the game. And we'll just go back and forth. We'll round robin it. Starting with like the least, but like still significant changes. And I'm just going to lead off by saying, I think the least but most significant changes are the range reduction, getting rid of a bunch of models. Oh, and you guys can just agree or insert your own. You can even move it up higher in your list if you think that it has a bigger impact than what I said. But the range reduction was, in my opinion, necessary. You just can't have everything forever. It doesn't work. Like you can't keep track.
And you got to introduce new things.
Well, we ran into that in N4 Tactical Awareness, where we're like, this is a cool profile, but it competes against 4 other guys in the same army that do the same thing. So just take the good one. You know what I mean?
Even when we did those like faction breakdowns, how often did it turn into just like, and this is the other one, and he does that job that other guy did in the other one, and this is the other one.
Well, and inevitably, what happens is you have less. You get more of like a gray soup for your army as opposed to things having like unique and interesting jobs and roles. So, I think that having that get slimmed down a bit was good. And it allowed them to, I think, greatly trim the sort of like soup factions, the vanilla faction that bonds all of the primary hyper powers together and make them more interesting. And by doing so, allowed them access to fire teams in like a more meaningful way because they'll get access to 2 duos and a Harris now. So I think that's probably one of the biggest changes is just the curating of what the model availability is, getting rid of some factions. Pano got truly butchered. They're down to 3. They lost 3 sectorials, NCA, Acon Testamento, and what am I missing?
Varuna. Yeah.
Just all gone. Just not even playable. Not even the list. They didn't even get it like a US Ariadna, like at a catalog thing. They just got the chop.
And the models went away for the vast majority of them too. It wasn't even like they got rolled in again. They're just gone.
Yeah, it's like Helix and Patsy, I think, are left, but the Kamaus are gone. Regulars are gone.
It's so nice to look at when you're looking through the factions of like, let me click on Ariadna. There's vanilla and 3. Yujin, vanilla and 3. Ariadna, vanilla and 3.
And they have a
Hack-a-Slam,
personality.
vanilla and 3.
It's funny. It's like they hack-a-slammed everybody. Because hack-a-slam kind of lost the least, but also didn't really change in their sectorials because their sectorials were all pretty unique already.
They all had an identity, that's for sure.
Exactly. It's like everybody got brought up to hack-a-slam, to the greatest of all Infinity factions. I'm with Owen now on that.
Them and Nomads are in the same boat. Nomads is also like, yep. Everyone lost all your profiles. Anyway, here's my Moran Masai. He's still here. And like,
here's me just being a Moran. Here's me being Nomads.
Bakunin, still having more profiles than most factions do now. Like,
yeah, it is funny because not all players made it through the edition equal in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, my entire Pano collection, with the exception of my military orders, all is gone.
Yeah, Jordan's entire collection is gone. He played NCA, Acon, and Verna. Like Jordan's just like, well, fuck me, I guess. Like he was having an existential crisis. It's a good thing he was working on JSA there in the star set because he was like out. He was having an actual meltdown at the beginning. There was a lot of emotional labor for us to get him through an N5.
This is where you tell Jordan that you emailed CB and be like, this is everything that this guy plays.
Yeah,
you just get rid of all of it.
Exactly.
This is how you decide. Yeah.
I do it purely for spite. Yeah, I use my powers only for evil. All right, well, that's my number 5. Agree, disagree, want to insert your own that you think is like the baseline one? What do you guys think?
Wait, are we each doing 5 or 5?
Yeah, we'll each do 5. But like if you want to say mine, do you think that's important? It's higher on the list, or just agree with me? You can just dispute.
It's good. I think it's good as is how you explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you on?
It's like, I don't know. I'd put that higher on the list because it's a big deal for a lot of people. Like it's a big change to the game because of just like your model collection gets nuked. Like that is just the reality of it.
Yeah,
I mean, the nice thing is that Infinity is such a like forgiving proxy game that, and like there's enough profiles that have come out that are like the mirror image of what they had been before. Like if you could play Kestrel using entirely models that have crawled out of Acon and Varuna.
Yeah, 100%.
Like those two together, and you could just straight up 1-to-1 proxy things. Like even things like the Tick Belang is in there, and like Griffins are clearly just orcs, and like Black Airs could be your Kamaus, and like you could do that. You could make it all kind of go together. In that, what's the one guy? What's the guy who has the hyper rapid magnetic cannon bot?
Dragos.
The Dragos. Yeah. No, not the tag. There's a dude who has a remote that has one.
What? No.
Oh, yeah.
HRMC on a remote? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, it's on an Ox.
It's a drummer.
Oh, in Fennec. I thought you were talking about in one of the old armies. I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, but I was saying that what I was going to say is that the Acon profile that no one ever took, the Garuda, not Garuda.
Oh, the Garda de Assalto.
Garda, yeah. You could just use him and be like, my Garda de Assalto is just bigger now. Like you could do that. So I don't know. I would put it higher. I mean, if I was going to go like little things that I think are really important is like clearing up the orders, like the shoot move thing. I think that is a significant change that was really annoying for people. That didn't add anything to the game. It made choices less meaningful because your opponent could like cheese in the active turn.
So just to be clear, what you're talking about, just for people listening, what you're talking about is the core rule changes that came out in N5 as being like the baseline. So the one you're referencing is you have to declare your intended move now first.
Right. So the example
if you want to look it up, it's under structure of an order.
Yeah.
Right. The perfect example that I've seen brought up and that I agree with is you have a 5-man link and your guy who you want to fight is standing, and you go, I declare shoot, and then all of them are prone around him, and your opponent must declare right there what his AROs are, and then your other guys move.
Yep.
And so you're like, oh, you get to just walk past my guy, or else I get shot for free. And if you don't declare to shoot that guy, he shoots you for free, and he just doesn't move. And I'm like, that's so dumb. It's so like antithetical to the way the game was designed. I don't know why they ever allowed it.
Yeah.
Because the whole point was that you shot.
Well, they cleared up a corner case by creating more corner cases, which was
right.
like a mid N4 thing that we went through. Remember, you had that one case where it was, what was it? It was camo markers against camo markers.
Oh, it was the 6 cents camo marker.
6 cents camo marker. Yeah.
Yeah. Where everyone didn't do anything until someone did something, and then you got to.
And they always had to go first no matter what you did.
Yeah. No matter what you did, you had to just eat it. And so you're like, screw it, I'll just discover shoot you and kill me.
And hope this happens. Yeah. Discover shoot you with the fucking template. Let's go.
Yeah. Finally got past the chasseurs just by running 2 Magariba guards over them.
Mm-hmm.
That was the solution.
Mm-hmm. And that's the first one. There was another minor change to the core mechanics. And I'm just looking through my notes again because it was that.
Like talking about like basic short skills and long skills.
No. To the core mechanics of like face-to-face rolls and.
I guess the armor flip would be like a minor
that's
but
what
relevant
I'm
thing.
Yeah, the armor flip.
Roll less than.
It's just it. I'm fine with it. It requires me to do mental gymnastics, but it's just because I've played now all 5 editions of Infinity, right? Like,
yeah,
I do think that it's just a better on-ramping system to have the rules always be the same. So I'm fine with it. It doesn't matter to me.
Yep.
Cool.
Those are my like low tier ones. I don't know if they have numbers, but they're on the bottom end of that.
Those are on the 5s. I gotcha. Well, let's go to the 4s then.
Wait, I didn't have a 5.
You said you agreed with mine.
You agreed with
you
it.
You passed.
Oh, yeah, I didn't understand what you were talking about.
You had your chance, Dan. You're cut.
My 5.
You're 4.
No,
my 5. Would be
no, go back. You're on 4.
My 4.
Yeah.
Is jerks. Is jump and
Dan
climb.
Has already started. Jump and climb. Okay.
So
short movement skills.
Or no, they're long movement skills. So so the terrain in Infinity is often very 3D and very cool, but often the entirety of the game is fought on the ground level because it's too much of a hassle to run up and down stairs, and it's just inefficient. And sometimes you're forced to, but it's rare to have enough ladders and enough things. And now, jump is minimum 6, and climb is minimum 6.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you get up to like the side of the building, you can climb. And if for whatever reason you can't make it all the way up, everybody is allowed to stick on the side of a wall as a long skill.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the building is more than 6 inches, or say 12 inches, then you can spend 2 full orders, which is expensive, but it's less expensive than running around, shooting through your way, and then coming up the stairs on the other side. Yeah. And so it opens up a lot more strategy and movement. Although expensive, it's way less expensive than other things, and I like that vector. And same thing with jump. And now we got really used to climbing from the top of your base, like measuring, but now it's back to the bottom. So, but it just opens it up.
What they effectively did is added the height of a size 2 silhouette to everybody's 4-inch first move.
I guess that's true.
It's kind of the same thing. It's a bit further because they're a little less than 2 inches, but
bigger silhouettes suffer more. But
yeah. And that means that, like you said, I think what they're trying to do is increase the mobility of the game and decrease the amount that null deploy was being used to just drain people's order pools and make the game non-interactive. So
there's just a lot more vectors and what you can approach, which is all Infinity is all about, is finding the cool different vectors to tear apart the puzzle that your opponent gave you.
Yeah.
And 100%. So this just opens more things and makes it, I think, again, first impressions, hopefully it'll be a lot more.
Yeah, that was my number 3 was just mobility, but I'm with you on that. What about you, Owen? Your number 4. What's next up?
Oh man, I have like a bunch of 2s and 1s because they're all like big deal changes in my opinion.
Sure. Skip them. Just skip it.
So like,
feel like
further up the tiers of like things is the.
You can put the range reduction there if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Just to move it along, we can go to 3.
Are there like, I think there's 3 that I think are like the big ones, and one of them for sure is number 1. But
you lead with the 2 and 3, and just
one of them that is a gigantic thing is the link team change.
Yeah, that was my number 3.
I don't know if it's number 1. It might be because I think it changed the entire game in a fundamental way. In that the value of troopers has shifted so much that it's not obvious.
Yeah.
Having only played a few games, but already seeing very quickly that like ooh, this is going to upset the way you used to play. Like things that were bad because they couldn't survive fighting +3 BS double damage guns in ARO, those don't exist anymore. So, like, and I said it to you before we started recording. I think the Spetsnaz is going to see a shocking return.
Solo profiles, solo profiles in general, but yeah, the Spetsnaz, HMG, and other solo profiles, like solo hunter profiles, like them, are definitely going to see a resurgence. I think with fire teams.
The loss of 6
Do we
cents
want to go over
reliably.
briefly the rules of fire teams?
Yeah, I think that's
can
worth
do
doing. Go for it.
So
And-
the
Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to sum up, I think what you just said was that the ceiling on fire teams has come down, right? So like the top power level of them has come down. And they've also, as we mentioned earlier, spread out the availability of them to vanilla, right? So not only is like the overall power level of them come down, they're more widely available, which I think broadens what they can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like the fire team bonus is based on the purity of your link, which is the exact same kind of rules as it was before. And it's gotten a little tighter, but for the most part, it's basically the same. I don't see huge changes in the actual like who can link with who.
Yeah,
other
just
than
have all
in
the same
vanilla,
guy.
obviously.
Yeah.
But the big things is that at level 2, which is where you first start getting advantages, other than moving as a group, you get a special dice as opposed to an extra burst. So you roll 2 dice, but you only get to pick one of them. And obviously you'll pick whatever the optimal dice roll is out of that. At level 3, you're going to get +3 to your discover rolls and +1 to dodging. At level 4, you get +1 to your BS. And at level 5, you get 6 cents, which is not old 6 cents. It is now in a much inferior way. It ignores stealth and I think surprise
It's
attack.
just
odds.
the stealth.
And you can
surprise
attack
attack.
outside of outside of line of fire. That's the other one too. So you can shoot.
Combat
backwards.
instinct is the part that ignores.
Right.
A little bit
Combat
more
instinct is the other
clarification for people who haven't been able to read the rules yet. It's not 2 columns like it used to be, where it was if you're pure you get these bonus, or if it's not pure you get these bonuses.
just
If it's
one.
fully pure you get those bonuses and these bonuses. It's if part of your team is pure and the rest isn't. If part of your team follows the keyword but the rest doesn't, it's however many people follow the keyword. That's the level of fire team. So if only one person has the keyword and everyone else, then everyone can just move together.
Yeah.
If
So
2
you got
people
a
have it,
5-man,
then you get the additional.
Yeah. If you have a 5-man fire team, you can still have a 5-man fire team. If 3 of them are all Fusiliers, one of them has a name and then in brackets the word Fusilier, and the other one's someone else, you're a 4th level fire team because 4 of the guys are from the same profile. It's basically all the same type of profile, or have in brackets the name of that profile, and you count towards the bonus. But you can have a 5-man team it's not pure impure, it's just how many guys basically count towards the bonus stack.
What I really like about fire teams now is it's super easy to build them.
Yeah.
It's before it was like going back and forth, and that it's just like it's really, really easy to figure out how to build a fire team, and it's purity level. Like it just seems more straightforward.
And there's less options to optimize. I think that's the other thing too, is there's because you're stuck to a single profile and whoever has that name.
Well, there's less bonuses, right?
Well,
it's just
so
very
much weaker.
simple bonuses, and they're incredibly weaker.
In ARO, you do half as much damage as you used to, and you've lost 66% of the bonus accuracy that you used to get.
Yeah,
well, maybe 10%. Or no. I mean, okay. So before you get to use +3 in a pure, and now you only get +1.
Right. So 66% went away.
So a max fire team,
okay, yeah.
would but also the ceiling's lower, right? So at Harris you get +1 now, right? So like I said, the ceiling's come down.
No, it's not until you get to 4.
Oh, that's
level 4.
Yeah, 4 is the +1. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. +1 stat to your shooting.
That's right.
And then level 2 gives you your bonus.
Sorry, I'm looking at the chart and seeing 3 boxes, and I'm like, well, no, it starts at 2 because that's but so the other thing is that your chance of winning the fight, take the bonus out of it, your chance of winning the fight for Harris on down is the same. Your chance of killing is halved to Owen's point, right? Because you have to discard one of those dice because you're rolling 2 picking the best.
But your chance of winning is the same as it used to be.
Yep.
Right.
That's what he said.
Because you used to have 2 dice.
Exactly.
That's
what I mean.
So
your chance of killing is gone in half is what I'm saying. Just to kind of differentiate, because
in arrows,
defensively you're kind of the same. Well, and offensively, because you're still rolling a bonus dice. It's that you're either dropping off a miss offensively, or if you hit twice, you're just picking whichever one's better and beats your opponent's roll.
It hurts defense way more in the killing power.
Yeah. The fact that you went from can kill a 2-wound model with a basic weapon and ARO to cannot kill a 2-wound model shy of a crit.
Without a crit.
Is such an incredible shift in my opinion that like it's not going to be obvious until you play like 20 games what that actually like turns into. Like when you start really changing up your lists go around, like, and again it's things like, because it touches on so many different pieces, which is why I think it should be really high up there. But like one of those things is the Ariadna got a whole bunch of nerfs. Like Ariadna had a bunch of special units that got changed and lost abilities or changed the way their abilities work, like the bears. And I think it's purely because of how much more powerful they are, because there's nothing that will stop them like before. Like it doesn't matter if your smoke grenades are harder to go off because they don't have +3 to BS anymore.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. Their redundancy in these mid-range profiles, I think, is what's going to be the thing that people sleep on at the beginning of the edition. Because I think a lot of players who come from N4 to N5 are going to be like, no, but I can still build like a super team, and it'll still carry me. And it's the people that flex faster, I think, into these lists that, you know, are like a bunch of 25 to 30 point guys who are all really good at the one thing they do. And then you've got 3 guys who can die, and you have another guy that does the same job that kind of picks up his pieces and goes through and does it. That's what I think these fire team changes are going to lead to, because you can't just tailor your
you could just kill them now. Like it used to be the case that there'd be guys who were like, I opened this edition, like I open every edition, and played the Joan Pain Train as my first game.
Yep.
And it was much harder. Like
I bet
it worked, and Dan died. Like that's how it is. But like it wasn't like it used to be.
It wasn't stand in the middle of the board shooting at every direction, regardless of who's fighting.
It also was very different where I wasn't BS 23 on my active turn.
Yeah.
I was only 20, like a peasant. 21, but
21, yeah. Still pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, those shotguns.
That speedball saved you. I almost had a decent chance of winning.
There's like 4 items. Speedball is amazing, by the way. Oh my god, it changes the game.
That would be my like 3.
Yeah, you want to put that one up?
Yeah. So you want to talk about equipment? Let's talk about deployables and equipment then.
Because this one is
completely different.
This is not a deployable equipment. This is the same as putting a guy on suppression at the beginning of the game.
Speedball. Okay. Oh, this is a skill.
It's an army skill. It's you spend a command token at the beginning of the game.
It's a what's the word?
Tactical use or strategic use of command token.
Strategic use of command token.
Yeah.
Oh, let me actually bring out that thing.
124 is the page it's on.
Yeah.
124. Thanks.
Well, that's the strategic use of it anyway. 84 is the page for Speedball. For those of you following along on your books, flip to page 84.
I gotta say, linkable PDF. Once again, while the rulebook has some weird stuff to it, but like navigating this rulebook is truly still great. I'm sure they had request Speedball is actually what it's called. Request drugs. You get 2 Speedball command tokens. Have 2 Speedball command tokens. This requires commands token strategic use. When requesting a Speedball during the active turn, players must place 2 Speedball tokens in the game table, applying the combat jump skill, and then making a pH roll for each of them at pH value of 14. Before making each of the combat jump rolls, the players need to choose what support equipment this suborbital drop contains. The players choose an item for the first token and making a roll on the chart for the second token. So basically, you get one cool thing you pick, and the other one you got to roll for. Speedball tokens can be placed in silhouette contact with markers, tokens, or scenario objectives. Any allied trooper in a non-null state that enters silhouette contact with a Speedball token automatically picks up the item it contains. The Speedball token is placed in silhouette contact with the trooper and then removed. This action automatically cancels any marker state the trooper's in. The items are single use and non-transferable. So you can get a Vita Pack. You basically heal them.
It's an auto pass. Vita Pack is an automatic success to heal a guy.
Yeah.
And if you have it on yourself and take a wound, you auto heal right then and there at the end of the order, and will cancel unconscious if you were to go unconscious.
Yeah. Auto repair is the same thing for structure.
Yeah.
Switch on gets rid of immobilized A, B, isolated, or stunned.
This is what happened in that game, by the way.
I isolated Joan.
Yeah.
He had no engineer to remove that. He was going to be in Lost Lieutenant.
Yeah.
I broke his link team, whatever.
Yeah.
Dropped down a freaking switch on, picked it up, slapped it on Joan, reformed the link, and then continued murdering.
Wow. So basically, all of the negative play experience things that can potentially happen during the game, you can use command tokens to get rid of now.
At the beginning of the game, though.
Is this the beginning of the game? Or
okay,
you got to pay for that
let's
at the
back
beginning.
up slightly.
Yeah.
So just pause on there because there's a few other things. Back up slightly. In the very beginning of strategic use command tokens, as you are spending stuff to either hold more people back or reduce order pool or put people on suppression, there's another option called logistical where you can, in initiative order, spend 1 command token to get 2 speedball tokens at the beginning at that point. And you're allowed to spend 2 command tokens during that phase instead of just 1, but it has to be basically on speed token or not.
Yeah, and these are requesting Titanfall. They come in during your turn if you want them.
At any point during your turn. Yeah.
At any point, it breaks all rules in its combat jump, but it's not a person coming down, so you can't hack it to make it harder.
Mm-hmm.
Or
you can't support it or hurt it. It's not a trooper.
And it's Fizz 14.
Which is not unlikely.
You can also get super jump jet propulsion for a jetpack. You can overkill, which cancels the unloaded state and regain all expended uses of the disposable weapons or piece of equipment in the conclusion step. Alternatively, the second mode grants the user BS attack SR -1 for a single order. So you can use the bullets or you can reload. And then nano shield. If a trooper has to make any saving rolls, they automatically apply +2 mod to their saving rolls in the resolution steps. So you can pocket sand out and get a nano shield.
Right. Yeah. So the jetpack, overkill, and nano shield are all separate things that you can get. And when you get them, it's a one-time use, one order use.
Yeah. But they work until you use it.
Yeah.
You hold on to them. They're just
So another idea that jumped into my brain immediately was nano shield, Yodam, cover, walk out. Then he's armor 15. And he cannot be harmed by weapons. Like, unless you have AP.
Because he can be harmed by weapons if he just gets shot with something.
Yeah, all he is +5 to his armor. So he's armor 10 against an AP weapon.
Sure, it's fine. So why is this such a big deal for you, Dan? Because like I do see the like this feels like the kind of thing that if you don't take engineers or you don't take a medic, you just automatically take this at the start of the game instead. You know what I mean? So that when you get those negative play experiences that happen, you can just get rid of it almost on command.
But it's also like one of those, even if you do take them, just the order efficiency of, okay, I'm spending 1 command token and I can choose that one of them automatically an auto repair or a Vita Pack for my big trooper that wants to go murder things. Mm-hmm. And if I fail if I keep the trooper on the side of the board, if I fail the combat jump, it deploys in your combat or it deploys in your deployment zone or whatever. You walk up and grab it with your tag, and then you go on shooting. And if it ever something goes wrong, you auto repair back 1, right? If you would die, and that includes during the enemy's turn.
Oh yeah.
And so all of a sudden you just have that on your tag for the rest of the game.
Yeah. And it's literally +1 for the cost of model.
For the cost of 1. And now, if they get lucky and do like a super crazy,
you might double down
all the time.
Well, if you roll good, you make it too.
But if that happened, who cares? It doesn't matter. Yeah. But just like the efficiency of like the craziness of that.
Yeah. Or even it's more ways to use command tokens. I'll be honest, we were using command tokens for nothing but buying orders in the last edition. Give me another good reason to buy to use my command tokens and make it interesting. You know what I mean? What I like about this is it's cinematic. It's got a cool effect and it's actually useful in the game for a bunch of those things that are really, really like discouraging to new players, you know what I mean? Or can be frustrating for people that don't play very often or play against an army that can create, isolated situations. The first time you play Gazis, like this is the kind of
this ability won both of my games, by the way. Speedball specifically. Well, when I played against Dan, top of 1, he isolates Joan of Arc.
Right. Yeah.
And then I just fix it for free. It cost half of an order.
It's funny, she's not a warhorse, eh? Johnny's not a warhorse. I'm surprised.
And then
all the skills.
And then the second game, I didn't need it, but I used it, where a bot got killed, and then we just repaired it instantly, and then gave him one of the supply tokens. And then we were able to pick up a second supply token because of that. And so like both of them, it was because I just sat on it. I didn't use it right away. And then as I needed it, I just called in the one I needed. And then I roll for the other one and maybe I get something cool or maybe I don't. And then like, even Yeah.
There's going to be games where you don't make the drop. We've made all our drops. So, right?
I failed one
but
game, but
well, it was the one you didn't want.
It was one that didn't matter. It's always the one that doesn't
Correct.
matter, yeah.
But the cool thing is you don't choose at the beginning of the game which ones you get.
No, you can react
when you place them.
React with it. Yeah.
So it's like you keep these in your pocket, and it's a get out of jail free card.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really what it is of like anything.
And what's funny is,
hey, you killed my doctor.
It's universal to every armor.
Everybody can take it. Everybody can take it. And it's like I almost don't like it because it's like I work so hard to try to kill this tag, or it's like I've done
and the fun
that I'm thing where I've immobilized A and B stuff, right? And I've killed the engineer, and it's like like I got it, and it's like, and anybody can just be like, and boop and boom, and we're back and running. And so it's like I almost don't like it for that point.
But you got something you have to account for now, and you're gonna know he's doing it at the beginning of the game. Like you're gonna see them next to the table and know what they are, right? So
and you just gotta hope that they fail the combat jump, or you gotta kill everyone around them.
Or yes, I was gonna say you have to cover them to make sure nobody can get to them.
But I think it's a
you put it right next to you during your turn, right? Like there's no stopping somebody from getting.
I guess if you're isolated, you would still be able to act and go grab it. Yeah, if you're immobilized, you wouldn't be able to, I guess.
Right, but someone else can use it on you if you get either of those.
That's what I'm saying. In that situation, you'd have somebody walk over and give it to you.
Either way, I think it's a massive impact to the game.
That's cool. That's a cool 3.
Atalanta has 2 wounds now. Hooray!
Wait, what?
Well, you just drop a Vita pack next to her, and she just heals automatically. So she just has 2 wounds.
Impact number 1. Atalanta 2 wounds.
Owen just dropping fucking madness on Dan there.
Is Atalanta immune to shock?
PTSD.
I don't think so.
She's post-human. She probably is.
I don't think she is.
She's not. No, she is. She's shock immune.
Oh, there you go. Atalanta has 2 wounds.
You can't even shock kill her.
PS shock, courage, immunity shock, marksmanship, MSV 2.
Yep. So you slap down your deployable cover, which we didn't talk about yet.
It's got a cool model.
Deployables is on that list for somebody.
At least Albedo lasts longer now.
Deployables is probably on your list. So why don't we just go to number 2 and talk about all the new deployables?
Deployable number 1 on my list.
Deployables number 1 on your list? Is it number 2 or number 1 for you, Owen?
It's probably number 2. I have a number 1, but it's not this.
Okay, let's go with deployables then. Let's talk about deployables. Let's run to the number 2s.
Go, Dan.
Okay, so they introduced 3 new deployables.
3 new deployables, yeah.
One is deployable cover. The other one is deployable turrets. And the other one is the disco ball.
Disco ball.
Yeah. It's just, so the disco ball, it's disposable too. And you just you throw it like any other kind of thing.
It's the Toha mirror ball. It's the same thing. It's an Eclipse special ammo.
But it stays. It goes away in the states phase, or rather, it deactivates in the state phase. That's the wrong word. It pauses being active. So deactivate will get rid of it. The activator. But so you keep the token. You can shoot the token when it's inactive.
Well, if you can see it, is the problem.
If you can see it,
you have to walk in and hit it. Actually, is what you have to do, or you have to intuitively attack it.
In the states phase, it'll go away, and then during the other person's turn, they can shoot the remaining thing.
Right.
If you want, or you can ignore it. Someone with a deactivator can either, if they can see it or within zone of control, they can turn it back on.
Yeah.
So it's like a reusable Eclipse zone.
Yeah. And it's one structure really cool. And size 1. So it's teeny tiny and it's armor 0 PCS. So it's literally a disco ball.
For a faction such as Invincible Army that had no smoke whatsoever or Eclipse, they gained 2 people with this. So now it's disposable, but they can throw it around and have some Eclipse. So that's cool.
Well, disposables for...
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. Yeah, that's going to be this is why this is all so impactful.
Okay.
Next is the turrets, which is it's all disposable 1, and it's a perimeter, so you can throw it in zone of control. And so although you can't be touching terrain when you deploy, you can place it on top of terrain, which can give it elevated cover, as far as I'm aware. And so you can... Once you've cleared out some guys, you can have some people walk up and just place some stuff on some high terrain, because 8 inches is quite tall. And then you can look down on rooftops. You can look down on anything. And there's 7, 8 different types of turrets with all different types of weapons, all different range bands.
Thunderbolts.
They're all total reaction. They're all 360 visor, and they're all BS10.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can place multiple of these turrets makes it really hard to sift through it, or it's order intensive to remove them all, and it's worse than you think.
It's a free model, which is crazy.
But it's even worse than you think. We'll get to there. Deployable cover.
Before we go even further, not every faction is created equal. in some of these factions, because you mentioned Yu-Ching getting access to an Eclipse Grenade basically through Disco Baller. Some factions, specifically Steel Flanks and is it Vanilla Ariadna? No, it's Cosmoflot, have access to like 5 guys that can throw at turrets.
And O12 in all
and
of
O12, so he has 6.
Vanilla O12 gets 7 turrets.
It's 7
profiles. 7 profiles.
Starmada gets 6
with AVA.
So think about the fact that you can just throw out 7 extra total reaction, even just rifle, like just a basic rifle, just a basic ass guy that can react anywhere you want inside your zone of control.
All right. Since we're talking about it more, the crazy part of it is that reload is now a short skill. So if you
and
have
automatic
baggage,
in the states phase.
yeah. So
free.
if you have baggage nearby, the active model that needs to be reloaded has to be within zone of control of a baggage bot or any whatever thing that has baggage, and it has a short order. So you can walk back, get reloaded, walk back forward, place a turret.
Yep.
And so your baggage bot can be what is that, like 16 inches away from the turret being placed?
More than that, 20 inches.
20.
And plus your base width, so you're like 22 inches ish.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
But then also in the states phase, you throw out. Okay, so I've thrown out all my disco balls or whatever, and it's like I'm out now. Also, disco ball has dual shot or double shot, so you can't throw both at the same time. And if you're in a fire team that gives you the +1 special dice, you can roll 3 dice and throw 2, or roll 2 dice and throw 1. And so like the odds of it going off are actually a lot higher than you think, which is awesome. But in the states phase, it'll automatically reload if you end within zone of control of the
if you're in zone of control of the baggage bot.
Right. So it makes it more interesting where the baggage bot isn't just hanging out in the back anymore. It's like encouraged to move it up more, which is fun. I like that. Well,
and because they're targetless, you can coordinate deploying these things too, as Owen pointed out. So
now wait, can you do this? If you coordinate an order between the turrets and the disco balls, it's all deployables. Can you do all of it at the same time? Or does it have to be the same?
What order are you doing?
Place deployable?
Yep. That's it.
So remember we were talking about the
now I don't think you can use I don't think you can do the disco balls because I think they're a BS attack.
They're not a place deployable.
No, I think you're right.
They're like a drop bear.
You are right.
Drop bear.
But there is also cover. Deployable cover.
Let's talk about that.
So deployable cover, there's 2 types of deployable cover. One is a cover where it just acts as normal cover, but only for friendlies. So this is something you can place on like a corner of a building. And the only way to get rid of it, you can't shoot it off the board, you have to deactivate it. And so there are more deactivators around, but it's just kind of annoying, and you got to make a whip check, and you got to be in zone of control, or I guess sight as well. But it's if someone doesn't have it, you can place it on a corner, and they can no longer peek around that corner at you because they got to walk around that cover. But also you can peek around and get that normal cover, which is awesome. The other cover doesn't give you the range band modifier, or like the -3 to hit, but it gives you +6 armor instead of the normal +3. So something that already has
to a maximum of 12.
Max 12, yes. Something that already has like an armor 5 though, then you get them behind that and their armor like 11, and then if they're like, chance of survival like 5, like an HMG, which is really high, you add 10 or 11 to that, and all of a sudden you're only failing like 15%. It's like it's like plink, 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 and you can just have someone on ARO suppressing behind it.
An 85% chance of surviving HMG rounds.
Yeah, it's insane. Like AP is really important in this edition, I feel. But it also, you can place a turret and then place cover in front of it as well.
Remember the +6 would come after AP, right? Because it's covered.
You don't have the +6, yeah.
You don't have the +6.
You mean
so you're still plus.
AP.
No. The
5 guy would be 9 against AP.
Well, you need all the help you can get on,
which is still crazy in my opinion. Like,
it is.
It is super nice. But the main thing is that with all the turrets being so easy to place, what I found in a lot of games is people that are hiding on rooftops, you can just like walk up and place turrets that can see those people on the rooftops. And if you're in a fire team or whatever, you can no longer move anybody because they're all going to get shot. And it's like, oh, you're hiding on a rooftop over there? Let me kill the one guy looking out, and let me walk up the side of the board, and let's place a turret looking at 5 guys on that rooftop.
Kill him. You shoot your disco ball around the corner, smoke it, and then walk up in the smoke, and then place your turrets, reloading in the smoke. make it so that they can see all the prone guys on rooftops and then just walk away and go, okay, good luck.
In Invincible Army, I have discovered a level 3 fire team that has 5 members, that has 1 disco baller, 2 turrets, and a baggage bot that can run up the side of the board.
Yep.
And so it's just, I think it's crazy impactful to the game. I think the turrets need to be nerfed somehow, of just how, if they're not abused, and then not everyone gets the same amount of turrets, but it's like, if you could easily, with command tokens, you can put them all together.
I think this is like the Coon Bikers, man. I think we will see something get skewed, and then certain factions will be able to do it, certain factions won't, and it'll become the thing 3 of the factions can do.
It'll be interesting to see how oppressive people do it. I mean, we're playing with
Owen,
you're
giving things up to do it too, right? And like you can't think that that's going to apply to every single mission, because you're talking about defensive tactics when you still have to go out and push buttons. And like,
it's definitely stronger for first player, because first player gets to move out on the board, and then you can place all those turrets. But the thing is, you can place the turrets from complete safety,
sure,
and put them in almost exactly the places that you want.
Yep. Yeah.
And so if at ever you get board control and are controlling the middle of the board, you can move up and just place a bunch of turrets. And then the opposing player has to spend all their orders killing the turrets and then moving up. And then you can just spend your turn placing more turrets, and you get even more turrets down, because you can reload and place turret, and reload and place turret, and reload and place turret.
Yeah. I think when we see factions that have access to plus command tokens, that's where.
Oh, you mean all of them?
Well, but the ones that we're just talking about now, Cosmoflot doesn't have access to plus.
No plus command token?
No plus command tokens. Hector gives you +1 order in Steel Flanks, but doesn't give you +1 command token. So those will be like +1 command tokens, actually fairly rare from the looks of things in those factions. And I haven't seen it yet. So I think the ones where you can skew them, you don't get extra command tokens, and the ones where you have less of them, you do. So you can't maximize efficiency, I guess is what I'm saying.
There's going to be people listening and be like, it's just this turret. Like, we played with turrets before. You place it in your deployment zone, it doesn't do a whole lot and whatever. But you're like, no.
Try placing 24 of them.
You can place it anywhere you like. And then there's some that have HMG range turrets.
Yeah. Right? The Thunderbolt one, yeah.
Consider too that Will Wallace can coordinate order every turn on his leadership, or with his LT.
He's going to inspire. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So he can just go.
Can you get Will Wallace in? You can get him in Cosmoflot, can't you? Yeah, but is he inspiring leadership in that one?
He sure is.
Oh, well, there you go.
He's inspiring leadership in vanilla now.
Oh, well, fuck.
Yeah. Welcome to the new Ariadne.
Welcome to the new Ariadne.
It's like the old Ariadne.
All right. Well, the Ariadne one's the one to watch then, I guess, because
it's gone again. Never mind. He doesn't have it in vanilla, or I have to update my app again.
No, he's got it in Cosmoflot.
Okay. He had it in vanilla like earlier, but he also didn't have it at one point, and they've been doing updates. So I know they're fiddling with something.
So far so good. We've got it in this one, and you may declare a coordinator by using it as a lieutenant order instead of a command token. Yeah. So you can coordinate
the faction that you actually care.
So you get 3 extra command tokens in the one that gets the most turrets. Effectively, if you take Willy.
So what's interesting is that both simultaneously null deploy is very scary, because someone can walk up and place turrets everywhere. But also not null deploy is scary, because someone can also walk up and put turrets everywhere. And if you activate with one guy, there's 5 turrets shooting you at the same time. Yeah. And it doesn't matter who you are.
They also just answers the question of all of the parachutists and deployment parachutists that has crept in over the last couple of releases. That's also true. So if you go first, you can just top of your turn, just throw 2 turrets down, watching any part of your back line.
I was going to say, can leave your deployment zone and still have guys in your deployment zone, which is actually pretty important.
Yeah. And you could hide them. You could make it so that they're not visible from the long distance. Yeah. So they just exist to kill anyone who tries to walk in.
Especially in some older missions, what's the one where you're trying to kill the enemy AI in the server, or looting its sabotaging.
Mind wipe.
You can drop those next to that guy and still go off and try and destroy theirs.
And the thing is, it's not movement intensive, because you get your base move plus 8 inches.
Plus 8 inches,
and that's the range of where you can choose, right? And so when you think about that, it's like you can place a turret wherever you want.
Pretty much, yeah. Was that your number 2 as well, Owen, or was that your number 1?
No, it's not my number 1.
Okay. Well, let's head on up to number one then, because
Well, what's your number one?
so
Because
my
I'm
number
curious
one,
if it's the same.
so my number one is, I think that with the overall aggregate of the changes, the increase in mobility, the decrease in reactive templates, the decrease in reactive link team fire, and the overall reduction in defensive tech, I think that first player is at a far greater advantage in this edition
Yeah.
than they have been in previous editions. I think
Yeah.
going first and being able to just jump across gaps, climb buildings, and generally not be stopped by terrain getting to you, because what you're effectively saying is about a third of the order cost to get to you and fight you now, and you're at about half to less the lethality to defend against me. Um, that's enormous. So going first used to be very important. I think going first is just like a no-brainer now. And so what's going to happen, I think, is sorry, if people played the way they played the last edition, going first is a no-brainer. You can't null deploy anymore. You can't just sit on your face and hope everything's going to be okay. They're just going to get to scalp you out one by one because you can't stop them getting to you. So what it feels like to me is there's going to be a greater need for stand-up fights from the beginning of the game and picking these like stand-up engagements, because the game's gotten slightly less lethal, but at the same time, if you are hiding, you will die alone. You will just get hunted down with greater order efficiency and die alone. So there's a greater need to be standing up and fighting at the start of the game. And that means that first player is going to dictate the terms very often in the game. And it's going to require players of the previous editions to adapt more defensive strategies, I think, in their deployment, in their model selection.
And we kind of, when we were talking about jumping and climbing,
Yeah.
we kind of skipped over the fact that super jump and climbing plus
Yeah.
also
And that's what I'm talking about here. Right?
Also follow the same rules where it's
Yeah.
a minimum of 6 or for both of them, and
Yep.
sometimes even more. So like a Garuda who's like an 8-2 can walk 8 and then super jump 6.
Yep.
And so it's just like,
and a regular person can double if they have jump, just double 6.
if you have super jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have super jump, you're minimum moving 12 inches.
You're moving, minimum moving 12 inches if you don't have a bracket number.
If you're just running up the board,
like 8, then you get to go. Yeah.
And so like the fact that everybody
adds to that too.
And that's like 50% faster than normal. And so yeah, it's people are gonna move real fast. Go ahead.
That was it. That was me aggregating basically the mobility, the drop.
One of the things that you put into that aggregate was my number one, which is the change to shotguns.
Okay. Reducing templates.
Shotguns no longer having direct templates.
And no longer a circular template like that.
About 2/3 of the direct templates are out of the game.
Yeah.
In this edition.
It completely changes the math on, like, it would have been hundreds of profiles. Now it's like dozens of profiles that had all fallen off because they depended on things like mimetism, or being able to get at you from behind, or being a marker state, stuff like that. That now you can no longer just kill them when they
even
come
close
combat.
To you. Like even close combat requires a roll now. You can't just template someone on the way in.
Yeah, you have to fight. You have to fight all the time, and you can't just go, well, my Daylami's not going to survive, so I'm just going to lay a template down and do a wound to your tag, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you want to dodge. Gotcha. And it was so antithetical, again, in my opinion, to how you should be trading and making like calculated choices. Like factions like Shazvasti. There's so many profiles in Shazvasti that you didn't see in like the entirety of N4. Like I probably played against Shazvasti maybe a dozen times, maybe a little bit more.
Because they were the sneaky faction and the templates robbed them of everything they do well.
Right. So you got to see Noctifiers, the Noctifier missile launcher. But outside of him, it was Calibans, because they didn't do the whole template thing. They wouldn't close in on you like that. They'd fight you at a distance, or get you with like coming out of marker state, then Protheon, so that they didn't just die. But things like Jaith Cutthroats were just not in the game. Like you just couldn't use them. Tencho experts, the Malignos, the Shrouded, all these guys who used to be like scary infiltrate Mim 6 guy. You you ran the risk of just getting killed by random guy for 12 points who had a shotgun. And like the fact that Hawk Islam all had shotguns was a problem. Like you can't have one of your factions just have access to every guy being able to just trade a wound if you go to kill them, where the only counterplay is be behind them or shoot them from out of range.
Right.
And when half of them are in camo, let me tell you, it wasn't fun.
Or they're just like in a corner and you have to walk around the corner to get to them. So you can't range ban them without like spec fire and blah, blah, blah. And so like losing that off the shotguns, because it does go in tandem. The fact that you don't have the double tap auto hit shotgun combined with the ability to shoot at 360 because you had the Sixth Sense Link team. Like it just totally changed. Like the fact that a Fide can now walk up into a Link team from behind and start killing them and doesn't just instantly die is a huge thing. Like you save 3, 4, 5 orders because you don't have to smoke anymore.
Yeah.
The Speculo Killer is way better than they were. Now they've also gotten pushed back on because biovisors changed, and I think that's a good relevant. We've talked about it before this even came, that like biovisors needed to do more. But like the change to shotguns, I think totally wombo combos with the Link team and the deployables to change how the whole game's going to play. Like
just our one game running around with someone who has a shotgun, I'm like, oh, because before it was like, I'm going to turn around a corner with a shotgun. Do you wish to dodge? I'll hit you. If you wish to fight me, I'll template you. It's like I have the perfect answer no matter what your arrow is. I can hit you really well.
The fact that
now it's just a regular gun.
What the hell is that guy called? The Aquila Guard? No, not the Aquila Guard. The other one. You know the one.
The one with what?
The Swiss Guard.
A Swiss Guard shotgun that you took.
Swiss Guard.
Yeah.
Missile launcher shotgun. Swiss Guard in Carbonite. I used him in like 4 games, and he never fired his missile. He just walked around with that shotgun and killed everything, and no one could touch him. And if they tried to, he would just kill them too, because he would just template you or he would shoot you, depending on whatever was best for me at the time. And there was no reliable way to deal with him, because if you tried to fight him at range, he was a better shot with mimetism and a missile launcher. And if you tried to fight him up close, you couldn't peace trade him because he was tougher than you, and he would kill your peace traders automatically when you fought him. And like, why? Why was that a choice? Like, why did you ever need to do that? I don't know what the problem was that was the fix, because it changed between editions when I stopped playing. And so like, I don't know where the discussion or where the state of the game was when the change to shotguns took place. And I don't know what the concern was that making them templates would resolve, other than that, like historically they had a weird template interaction. So maybe we make it easier by just buckshotting a room. And like, maybe it was literally just like a feeling thing, but like, Jesus, did it change the way the game is played? And so now it's gone. And I guess missiles change too, but I don't agree with the internet that those are relevant.
Oh, you mean guided missiles?
You mean guided missiles? I mean, it's relevant in that it's way harder to get off. You can you can reset it off now when you get attacked, and like a whole bunch of other things.
And like Spotlight, you get a save against.
Yeah. and you don't get AP explosive anymore because it just uses the blast round.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of little changes that wouldn't make it into my top 5, but like the shotguns, the Link teams, and the deployables are definitely like the 1, 2, 3 of like, welcome to the new edition, because this is what you have to deal with now.
Yeah, and we can go on talking forever and ever and ever about all the little changes. But basically,
and we're gonna do more episodes about that.
early impressions on the edition out of 10. How happy are we with this edition so far?
I'll go first, and I'll say so far I'm at like an 8. I needed a shakeup. I needed something to change. I needed to approach Affinity as a new problem set, and this I think is going to, between the large list revisions, the increase in movement, the decrease in lethality, or in stackable lethality, I think it's going to make for an more interesting game. And that's where I like Infinity on the table. I don't like winning Infinity games through list building. I like taking interesting lists and noodling on lists, but I don't think list building should win you Infinity games. And I feel like this has kind of thrown that back to, it's not your list, it's you, if that makes sense.
It's gonna make me feel bad about all my losses, don't you?
No, you're just cursed. you just I don't know what's wrong with you. It's dice. It's something. You've been living under a hex. You've done something bad in a past life.
and this life. I had 8 in my head as well. It was just kind of like list building, as fun as it was also a little boring. Of like, how do I get my 5-man team and Harris's? Like, how can I eke out the efficiency of the Harris's? Oh, my faction can take 2 Harris's. I definitely get to 2 Harris's in a core because of the bonuses. It was just hard to ignore all those bonuses. And at the very beginning, when I started playing, I remember I hate fire teams. I didn't like fire teams because it just felt weird and restrictive, the list building. And now that fire teams are more geared towards like the biggest best bonus is in a duo, and it's not even like a biggest best bonus anymore. It's half as good as the bonus was before. Like it just opens up list building, and I think I'm excited to see where the game's going to go in list building and how people are going to adapt, because I don't think anybody has any idea what kind of actual lists are going to make it to tournaments and be successful right now.
Interestingly enough, too, I think that less army depth means people will play more different armies too. Does that make sense? Like having less profiles.
Lists will look differently for sure. Yeah, I mean, it might even out into okay, this is how you play now, like it did before, but it'll take a while. And this is the funnest part of any new edition, is everyone being able to figure out and try new things. So I'm excited.
Exactly. Yep. So can I give you guys, what about you, Owen? What was yours?
I'm like a 9. I think it's great. This is awesome. Like all the things I wanted, and the only thing that I'm like cautious about is just get perimeter off of the turrets. You take that away, I think it's fine, because right now you have
roofs.
You have this like in an edition where they've changed it, where there's so much more interactive play, where there's no longer the free I shoot my template shotgun, I berserk, I do this, I do that, and you just die, and there's no interaction there. You brought in one thing that is like incredibly oppressive, that's very easy to do, that every faction has access to except for Toha, and there's no real like feel to it. And I think you can fix it by just not letting people throw them up on roofs for free, or like around corners or in the middle of teams. That if you have to fight,
it's to expose yourself.
Like if it takes a lot of moving to make it happen, I'm okay with that. You're going to spend 3 or 4 orders and it costs them 1 or 2 orders to get rid of it. That's a fair, like, I'm okay with that if you want to do that investment.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I'm super happy about lowering the value of link teams, because I didn't like link teams and I didn't play them very much, like, which Dan can attest to, or you can attest to, where I played vanilla in like Carbonite, and it's like I don't want to use them. Like it became like the 5-3-2 thing drove me crazy, and I did not like it, and I'm glad to see it going away, and that the new link teams are their benefits, they're helpful, but they're not the staple, like they're not the cornerstone of your game anymore.
I think the only thing that's been like slightly off note for me is just that we don't have an ITS pack yet, and the delays have just they kind of threw a stick in my spokes for my enthusiasm, because I like to plan things. So the one thing that I think we need to get going to go along with a great game is great community stuff. And that means events, and that means activities, and that means people coming together, which is my favorite part of Infinity. And hopefully now that this is out in the wild, we can start just banging on with that. We'll get an ITS season, hopefully in the new year, so we can start planning events that are the actual intended scenarios for this season.
The current scenarios are allegedly the ones, right? Like,
well, the last season scenarios.
I know, right? But that's the quote unquote current one.
Yeah. I know, and they'll get us by. What I'm saying is, I would be interested to see what the intended like rest of this edition is, because the scenarios are part of that. You know what I mean? And there are some scenarios in the book, right? There's the get you by scenarios that are in the core book, and I hadn't really dug too deep into those, but we could dig into those as an episode maybe, and see if we notice anything different about the layout or the way that they're structured or anything like that. But
I've been sitting on my hands for like 8 months waiting for this edition to finally drop, where I'm like, I want to run more events, but like, why?
dude, every morning waking up okay, what is leaked? Why isn't it released yet?
Yeah, what are we looking at? The chat has been like alternating between the games we're playing in the meantime and what little tiny tidbits of info come out, which is very funny. So let's talk about some stats before we wrap this up. And our next episode, little like preview happens. We still somehow have people listening to this podcast. In the last 30 days, we've actually still gained 2 followers, and we had 133 streams. We have almost 1,000 Spotify followers, which is crazy. Across platform, we have something like 2,000 followers. I can't believe anybody's still listening to this, but it's somehow still growing. And people have been posting comments because I just signed into our like Spotify Wrapped thing and saw the stats. It's very funny that this has somehow been going for almost 8 months. Our last episode was in March of this past year. So it's March 30th. It's been like 9 months since we actually had an episode. Yeah. And somehow it's still going in the background. I miss you too, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have the group chat, but we haven't actually done.
In spite of you, I've missed you.
In spite of my best efforts, also in spite of me, I missed you. So the plan is that we're going to do 2 more of these this week. Quickie little episodes. One talking about basically breaking down deeper into the individual top 5 things we talked about here today, and talk a bit more about deployables, and we'll have a little natter about that. Talk a little about the movement skills and mobility stuff. And then talk a little bit about armies and army lists and reductions, because I think those 3 main bucket topics will get us through the new edition launch. Anything you guys wanted to add? What are you guys going to be working on for start of edition? What's caught your eye? I'm going to do Fennec and just finish off the starter set.
I told myself I was going to move on the White Banner, but I'm just like, I'm disinterested. I want to go back to Invincible Army. ISS has a bunch of new toys. 012 looks fun. Like, and so it's just
rises again. He's better than he used to be. He got nothing but buffs. The losing is just better. Like, it's crazy.
This is what the benefit is of playing all the shitty factions. You learn how to play them, and then you get buffs, and then you go, excellent. Yeah, the Sofa Tech or whatever, or Disco Balls are the thing. Yeah. I can duo Moangs now.
Fucking Moangs. Just gonna live and die by those Moangs.
The Moangs get a Disco Ball profile.
He is. Yep. Get your Tau Wu to lead the whole
army. They got rid of the multi profile, the multi rifle profile though, so I was sad about that. But you can also
get and I'm not kidding, this is a real name, the Long Wang Imperial Tag Police.
The Long Wang of the Law is gonna hit
hard. Is coming. I didn't realize right in the face. Since when is the Long Wang a thing? I don't think I've ever seen the Long Wang before.
The Long Wang
with his Shang Dao ancillary remote unit.
They previewed the name. And it was a tag, and that's all we've known.
I'm excited to go through. We'll do this in the unit profiles one of like what are the
it's actually a decent one. It's
pretty neat.
It's not great, but it's pretty good.
He's the most 012 of the Yu Ching things. He's got
oh my gosh,
everywhere. He's the most.
ISS
he's the most
is 012 1.5.
Yeah,
yeah. Those riot swappers everywhere.
They're 012 without a constitution to keep them in check. They're 012 with no oversight or accountability. What about you, Owen? What are you gonna
play?
So I was looking at Toha.
Because of course you were, because you just to be fucking contrarian.
He just bottled my Toha off me.
Nice,
yeah.
There you go.
And like I was like interested, but honestly, they don't feel like they've done anything. Like there's nothing. They're just the same again.
They're kind of like
whatever. I'm more interested in like. I mean, one side of it is I'm gonna walk the machine gun turrets all the way. Like, I'm just gonna take that as far as it'll go. So like, if that means I have to play Cosmo or a Steel Phalanx thing or like some variant, whatever sub faction that turns into, like it's probably going to be Cosmo because I have an urge to play Ariadna purely on the back of like, well, Ariadna has suffered a whole bunch, and it's like, maybe. But yeah, probably do the turret thing first in Ariadna and then expand from there. That'll be my first like I'm doing rough math, and I'm pretty sure I can put 20 turrets down in the first turn.
I mean, I think you wouldn't be you if you didn't skew to the maximum of your skew potential to lead the edition. So I'm just gonna say, God bless you, Christian soldier. Like forward unto war, Deus Vult.
It's wild.
Ash Walls it. Just do it.
none of them are good turrets. Like they don't have like a really fancy one like the other factions do. But like,
but dice are dice.
You run into enough adhesive and rifle turrets, you're gonna have to deal with it. Like, and it's just like it's so cheap, and like you get so many cheap orders, and then you still get a bear, and like, yeah, that's probably my first like starting thing, because eventually I'll just play everything like I do every edition.
Well, no, that's where we're all gonna end up. This is where this always leads to that. I'm just trying to get the new stuff done.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, there we go. Bell is back.
I mean, I will at some point play my last edition's last army, which was Assassin's Baron. I have to do it.
Even though Viral got nerfed.
Well, what happened to Viral?
Doesn't work on robots anymore.
Doesn't work against structure.
It finally happened.
We finally did it.
We're using poison against the robot isn't effective.
It didn't. Where the gas grenades didn't work against, where the Joker, the fucking Smilex didn't work on the robots anymore. So funny. Okay.
Yep. Well, Shakoosh still sucks though. Useless bastard.
Save this energy for the profiles episode.
Yeah.
All right. So this is going to come out. I'm just going to post this the night that we record it. So I'll stay up a bit and edit this and post it on Tuesday. And then we'll have another one of these on Thursday and another one of these on Saturday for all you Infinity perverts as we go through all of this release. Thanks for hanging out and hanging in with us as we took our big hiatus, and we will be banging away with more Tactical Awareness. You can join the Tactical Awareness Discord, which will be linked in this podcast description, and tell us what you think we should do next after this. I don't want to do faction breakdowns. I think I want to do change logs.
Like maybe faction highlights.
Yeah, change exactly like a top fives thing, like top 5 changes. It just feels like a better way of structuring these things, so we're not just sitting here wanting to kill ourselves for hours, talking Infinity.
The other way you can do it,
more bullshit, less structure.
You don't go through the entire faction.
Yeah.
You just talk. You build a list.
Yeah.
With a theme.
Yeah.
And then you just talk the lists that each faction can make.
Ooh, we could each do that. That's a good idea.
Where you build a list.
Each of us builds a list.
You talk your list through it, and we don't have to go through every profile and why they have this and why they have that. You just go, here's what I wanted out of this.
Damn right.
This is what I brought.
Damn right. Let's do it. Sweet. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.